everybody. I hope you are safe and well. What we're going to be looking at this week is just sort of summarising some of the bits and pieces that you've been doing on careers in the last couple of lessons, and also thinking ahead to the summer holidays and next year. Okay. Now, as far as we know, we will be back to normal working in September. Keep our fingers crossed for that, and that we don't go backwards in terms of another lockdown or anything like that. And as yet, we don't know anything about next summer's exams. You might have read in the news that they've put them back a month, essentially into July. We don't know if that's going to happen or not, because it then wouldn't leave enough time for the universities, for the exam boards to mark your work and let the universities know. So let's just work on the assumption everything will be back to normal, and that you obviously have to consolidate this summer's work. Okay. So there's one thing we'd like you to do for this week, and that is to write your paragraph on your UCAS statement. Now, I know that's already been set by your tutor, and your tutor is now going to work quite closely with you to make sure that you're ready to go if you want to apply for university. And the second thing I'd like to do is think about work you could be doing over the summer to make sure that you're ready to go for next year. Okay, so over the last couple of weeks, we've given you work to do looking at the types of jobs you could get with a sociology qualification, and then most recently how you apply through UCAS for a sociology degree. Obviously the process is the same if you want to do psychology or biology or whatever it happens to be. But even if you don't want to do sociology at a higher level, you still have to write about your sociology course in your personal statement. Now, your personal statement is where you have to write all about you. And at some point, you need to say what skills sociology has given you. Okay. Now, I have listed some here for you. I'm not going to read them out. And there might be other things as well that you could comment on. Okay. But the university admissions tutor will read your statement, and they will obviously want to find an enthusiastic student who's made advances over the last 2 years. I think possibly the last one will be the most significant, given that you've had to do a term's work, or just over a term's work by yourselves. And that is going to really prepare you well for university life, because at university, at the beginning of your courses, they'll give you big long lists of reading you have to do. You'll get a summary of what each week's lectures and seminars are going to be about, and you'll be pretty much left to your own devices. So hopefully the skills that you've picked up in the last few months, and I know it's been really tough to keep going, and motivation levels at the moment might be quite low, but these are skills you're going to need for helping and teaching yourself independent learning at university. Okay, so get going with trying to write that paragraph. Okay, so none of us like writing about ourselves, okay, but you've got to be positive, and you've got to try and link your sociology skills to your hopefully future degree course. Okay, that's what they are looking for. Now, when it comes to the order, because you're going to write about all your A-level courses, sociology would come first if you were doing a sociology degree. But obviously, if biology is your first love or whatever, you're going to put that first, and your sociology will come second or third on the list. Okay. Overall, try and be enthusiastic and passionate. I know that's difficult in words, and you haven't got that many words to play with, but give it a go. Your tutor will have gone through deadlines with you, and in our experience, writing your UCAS form and sending it off early in September, early October, gives you a huge number of advantages. First of all, you get it out of the way, and it means you can actually get on with doing your A-levels. but it also generally means you get better offers. So, you know, the universities will be very keen to fill up their courses, and if they like the look of you, they'll give you a decent offer, and hopefully you'll have your place secured. If you leave it till January or even later, if you're a late application, you know, your form may not even be looked at. So get the thing done early and get it out the way. Okay, slightly more long term then is, what are you going to do this summer? Well, hopefully you're going to get outside, you're going to meet your mates, you'll be able to go shopping, and hopefully things will get back to normal. But we also want you to be doing some sociology work, because we're like that. So this is what you need to be getting on with. Now, we're not setting you any new stuff over the holidays. There is no coursework. Essentially, you have to make sure everything from the lower six is done and dusted, and it is ready to go for revision next year. So alongside this PowerPoint, I have sent you out this check document. Okay, it's very similar to the one that you used when we first went into lockdown and went into closure, and it's a table for you to check that you have everything from year 12 covered. So have a look at that, please. Okay, so you might think we're a bit mean, keeping you off the streets and out of trouble this summer by making you do some work, but we have your long-term interests at heart, and next year we may not have a great deal of time for revision at the end of the course. And if you put your files aside now and then, you know, not pick them up again until next Easter when you start revising, you might not know what order things go in. You know, your folder might be all over the place. You won't know what's missing. You won't know what's there. So now is a great time to make sure that you get your files sorted out. The chances are you're also going to have to give back your AS textbook. Now, your AS textbook is really good. So there's plenty of things in there that you could be having a look at, and, you know, make sure you take full advantage of using that book this summer. So once you've checked to make sure your file is in good order, you've got all of your work covered, at that point you're going to want to start making revision aids. Okay, sorry for the delay. This is the third time of trying to record this. Right, so when it comes to doing revision aids, look at the red first of all for me, please. If you can get theory and concepts into your work, then you will convince the examiner you are a proper sociologist, not somebody who's just walked in off the street and has got a few ideas about some stuff. Also, if you can get at least one study in per sort of subtopic, you will again convince the examiner of your ability to understand sociology. And where you can, recycle. So, for example, the Gilbourne and Udall study in education about triage is really good for covering aspects of social class, aspects of ethnicity, and aspects of gender difference as well in education. So you cover a whole range of different topics there. You can use it. It's a study about streaming and setting, essentially. So you're covering loads of bases there with just one study. So that's a good one to use. Also, don't forget about evaluations. They are important because that's what's going to get you the A's and the B's. Okay. So when you're preparing revision aids, try not to write too much. The whole point is to reduce a big set of notes down to a much smaller, more manageable set of notes. Psychologists recommend you use lots of different colours, again, just to keep you interested. And the thing about revision is you don't just make a revision aid and put it in your folder and forget about it. You get it out often and you read it and you test yourself and you keep rereading it, because that's how revision works. You get information from your short-term memory into your long-term memory. Okay, and if you start early, you will build up your knowledge, you'll build up your confidence, and that's what exams are all about. Okay, now different revision techniques work for different people. Okay, but what doesn't work is leaving it to the last minute. So I've put on the left hand side things you can be doing to to make revision aids, and I would suggest a mixture of all the different types. Okay, I personally like diagrams, I like dual coding, I like setting myself little quizzes. Okay, that's what helps me learn, but different people learn in different ways. Now, some people will tell you that graphic organisers are a good idea. Essentially, they're just diagrams, okay? What you might call a spider diagram, or just a chart with lots of arrows on it, linking ideas together. And big bits of A3 paper will help there. Now, we do have them in college if you want to pick them up. They're quite cheap to buy. And some people like to make them into posters and put them around their bedrooms. Other people will use post-it notes to put onto the graphic organisers. There's lots of different ways that you can use them, but they are usually a really successful way of collecting lots of ideas together and putting it into one document. Other people like dual coding, and this is where you use a mixture of pictures and words to illustrate what is going on. Now, the danger here, I think, is, you suddenly, if you're very good at art, then you will spend ages and ages making really pretty pictures. Now, that's not really going to get you grades in Sociology A level. So, use this one advisedly, but some people like the idea of using pictures as a stimulus, as a way of remembering things. When we did the Parsons idea of the fit thesis, and you tell a story about how the family changes to fit into the needs of society, that's a really good way of using a storyboard, using pictures to tell that particular theory. So they do have their place, but again, I wouldn't want you wasting too much time, concentrating on beautiful pictures when you could be getting in a little bit more detail, which you need for your essays. Some people like to write essay plans and model answers. That's fine. If you want us to check them, please do so. Now, please don't just be tempted to go and buy a load of stuff, okay? I know it's out there. It's of, some of it's of good quality, some of it's really mediocre. But the reality is you don't learn it, okay? You only learn by processing it yourself. And reading someone else's answers isn't really you processing your own work. Tables and charts, again, sometimes they're really useful if you want to do like a comparison. So if you wanted to do a comparison between the functionist and Marxist views on the family, those sorts of things are where tables and charts are really useful. Or if you were going to list down the qualities of quantitative methods in research compared to qualitative methods in research, that would also be really good. Okay. I like the idea of setting myself quizzes, so as I'm doing a piece of revision, I'll just write myself a list of questions, and I might go back to those questions in 2 days' time and quiz myself, or get someone else to quiz me, okay? That would also be a really, really good thing to do. And finally, postcards. Some people like trying to reduce their notes onto a postcard piece of paper, piece of card. You can buy packs of plain postcards relatively cheaply. They do sell them in the LRC, although you may not be in college in the next couple of weeks to take advantage of that. But you can buy them quite cheaply, and people like that. And they might put the theory on one side and the evaluations on another, or again use the other side of the card to put questions, again to test themselves. You can get quite inventive with postcards, and the nice thing about a postcard is that you can just put them into your bag and pop them out when you've just got 5 minutes, when you're hanging around waiting for a bus or something. You can read your postcard. Some of you will want to do your revision notes on the computer and print them off. Again, that's absolutely fine. It's really whatever suits you, but go back to your checklists and try and make yourself a range of revision aids, because you're not going to have a great deal of time next Easter onwards to go through this stuff. So that's what we'd like you to do in the summer, okay?